Hi everybody! For those of you that don't know who we are, I'm Ricky from Connerty Meadows Farm, and I would like to say welcome to our farm garden tour. This is the first one that I'm going to be doing on YouTube. All the other ones I've done live on our farm Facebook page. Unfortunately, with the internet around here, we have satellite internet, so it's really not the greatest. So even though I love doing those live tours and it's great for more interaction, I want to try this way and see what you guys think. We moved to this farm in December 2019. It's just outside of Ottawa area. There's 42 acres. About 10 or so are actually workable acres. Let's get started on the tour. I have been working on prettying up this area. So I have built some garden beds here. As you can see, I've already got some pots here with plants in them that I'm getting ready. Our soil is supposed to be delivered on the 4th, so only a few more days and I will have all of those filled. I do have a video about how we built these beds, so you can check that out if you're interested in knowing how we did it. We still have one bed left at the end there to put up, but we aren't really pushing to do that at this moment because we have a whole lot of other things. If you're wondering what this unit is, it's a cackalack, so it's a movable chicken coop. We raise our meat chickens in there in the summer. It'll be another month or so before they arrive, so it's just kind of tucked out of the way. So here we have our apple orchard. The last 5 trees on this row are actually cherry trees. And then we have apple there, and then all of these apples. Under every fruit tree that we have planted comfrey. Comfrey has a lot of great medicinal benefits, but it also is a really great fertilizer, and it has very long tap roots, so it brings up nutrients from the ground for the trees. So every single tree has comfrey underneath it. In the fall, I had made this bed, and we had planted garlic in it. Starting to all come up. The snow maybe tipped the tips of it, but still doing okay. We have got our arches up in the garden. These do not stay up all winter long. We take them down as soon as the crop is done for the year. You'll see on a lot of videos and stuff that people make these arches out of cattle panels. Normally that's probably what we would do too. When we moved from our old farm to here, we brought hog panels with us, which are essentially the same as the cattle panels. They're just quite a bit shorter. So we've actually just used 2 hog panels together to make my arches a little bit longer. So you'll see, like, that's kind of the middle. So that would be one hog panel, and then that would be the other hog panel. So on these arches, I plant things like beans, cucumbers, cucamelons, watermelons, any kind of melons, beans, and cucumbers are generally what I put on my arches. And then we have these trellising systems this way, and this is what my tomatoes go on. So you can see each of my beds. So tomatoes go on here. So on the side of each of these, they'll either be carrots or radish or some other kind of brassica on either side on all 4 of the beds. These are new. I wouldn't have shown these in a tour before. So these are my hascaps. So for those of you that don't know what a hascap is, it's colored like a blueberry, but take a blueberry and elongate it, and that's what a hascap looks like. They're very tart, more tart like a raspberry. And so I have 3 on this side next to the rabbit hutches. And then if we walk around the rabbit hutches, I have 2 more on this side, so a total of 5. Now hascaps need a pollinator, so on this side there is 2 different varieties, and on the other side the pollinators in the middle. On the front end of each of the garden beds, I have some sort of trellis, and each of these trellises will support peas. I'm just going to show you. These peas have been in the ground for a little while now. I don't know if you can see these little guys. So peas are cold hardy, so even though it snowed yesterday, these guys are still just fine. And I'll show you just down here under the arch. These are all radish. So these are seeds that I saved last year. And all of these radish will be out in a very short order and make room for what's next coming under the arches. Around this side of the garden bed, I have rhubarb coming up. So this particular plant came with us from our old place. So it's actually the biggest and the healthiest. This little guy next to it here, I started from seed last year, so we have a long way to go before it's pretty healthy. On the side of this one, same thing. I actually brought this one with us from our old farm, and then I planted small ones on either side, but looks like they didn't come back this year. So let's just take a walk down here. So next to our garden beds, we have our raspberries. We have them in a single raised log. We'll be adding one more layer to each of these guys. We've put chips down in the middle to kind of help prevent the grass and the weeds, but as you can see, it still comes up through. They're pretty persistent. So we just keep plucking them out, and raising these will hopefully help contain them a little bit more. Just to give you a view of the garden this way. My little garden buddy Sylvester. So I do have some strawberries in the garden here. You'll see in here, and then some between some of the arches I also have some. And on the end here, and my little bird bath and some daffodils, some comfrey. So we had this water trough from the time we lived in Cold Lake, Alberta. It came with us we were in Cold Lake, Alberta for 5 years. Then we moved to New Brunswick for 2 years. It came with us there. Then we moved to Kingston, and we were in Kingston for 7 years, and it came with us there. Then it came with us here, and it lasted the first winter that we were here. We moved in December 2019, and then in the spring of 2020, when I went to clean it, it finally blew a hole in the bottom of it. So we actually just drilled a whole bunch more holes in the bottom of it. I filled it with the peelings from the cedar when we built the beds, and then we had some sand, so I put some sand in it, and then we put soil on the top parts. So we've got a few little things planted in there right now as well. Over here we have some lovage and some ginger mint, and then some more comfrey, and then these guys here we always put hot peppers in the little pots here on the end, and then of course the peas also climb up this. Next to the chicken coop, everybody's having a good time outside. Ducks are really enjoying a little bit of extra wet. And look, Mrs. Turkey, she's right there. You can see we're still really, really wet here, so the in-ground garden has not been touched, and it won't be touched for a while yet. Most of the stuff that goes in there is like things like corn and beans, and I do put some tomatoes in there. Let me just pop you around over here. So here's the rest of my trellising for the tomatoes, ready for them, and some of the logs for my bean trellis. And we will show you guys that once it's all up. But down here at the end of this garden is my strawberries, and I still have not uncovered them, but some of them have managed to peek out through the leaves themselves. You can see on the end there's a lot of water gathered up, so that's one of the reasons why they're kind of up on a hill. I've kind of lumped them up on a hill to make sure that they're up off the wet. This is the front of our property. When we moved here, there wasn't a whole lot of landscaping done, so we've taken this last year and we've done quite a bit of landscaping. Here in the pots are some of the things that I've ordered recently, and since my soil's not here, I just haven't been able to put them away. We have our blackberries and we have some grapes, and then these are extra raspberries that have popped out of our raspberry bed, so I've got them potted up. So in this front garden bed here, we have quite a bit of stuff that we've added in. the little lamb's ears here we brought with us from our other place. I really love my roses, Sharon, at our other place, and we couldn't bring it with us, so my husband bought me a couple here. It's really hard to see what we've got all in there because I had to mulch it all down. We brought 3 of these with us from our old place, these little garden planters. I used to have them right by the back door for herbs and stuff. When we moved here, 3 kind of looked funny. So we went and we added a 4th. So you can see it over there. Hi, Casey. She's got her nose in a book, which is completely normal. Actually, they were riding earlier, so that's okay. All right, let's take you around to the front. There's been quite a few changes here. Quite a few changes. So if you've not watched any of our garden tours, you'll know there was actually nothing on this lawn. We've added all of these. So these bushes came with the place. White flowers on them in the spring. I'm very sorry, I'm not a flower person. I don't know what they're called. We've added tulips. Being a Dutch girl, have to have tulips. Just standard lilacs and Rosa rosacea on the front here. The nice thing about them is they give really great rose hips, so we can eat those. In the middle where those beautiful tulips are is a dark purple lilac, and then roses all the way down until the end, and we have another light purple lilac, and then that baby's breath kind of looking bush. We also have planted some trees here. So these 2 are pear trees. This bed here is catnip, mint, and lemon balm. All 3 make really, really great teas. And I don't care if any of these spread through the lawn here. This is what we've been working on. This is our garden spiral. Just waiting for the rest of the soil to come in, and then we will finish it up. We still have to add some more rocks on the top here when we put the soil in, and probably a little more down on the bottom. And we, I think, are thinking about some sort of bird bath or statue or something kind of right there. So a lot of the herbs that kind of are overtaking in there are going to be moved down into here, and then I think a lot of those are just going to be flowers and pretty things. And then here, this little shrub here is a snowball. It's my favorite. I really like them. I don't know why, I just do snowballs and lilacs. So when we first moved in, there was some really big, ugly shrubs that were actually blocking our window view. We ripped them all out, and I'll take you over there and show you what we've done after we come over here. So over here, we have some asparagus beds, and in with the asparagus, you can see here, we've put strawberries. They pair really, really well. So by the 3rd year, the strawberries are not really producing anymore, but by the 3rd year the asparagus is. So we're hoping that this is a good blending of the 2. And then we have some plum trees there and an apple tree there. Down our line here we have a number of high bush and low bush blueberries. One little guy that's struggling. We still don't know whether he's alive or dead. But I have a replacement just in case. These were all brought with us from our old farm, so they managed, I potted them up, and then they spent a winter in pots underneath a deck, and I'm still surprised that so many of them did so well. And there's our newest apple tree. It just came in the mail this week from Hardy Tree Nurseries. And we still have some things in pots over there. Most of them are things like lavender. The black one is the replacement blueberry in case this guy doesn't make it. So, and these pots are pots we brought with us from our last place, and I still haven't placed everything in them. Some of them died, so I just only have so much time. This is my rose bush. This was the one I was desperate to bring with us from our other place. It is so beautiful. If you buy soaps from us, or we have roses in the soap, this is the tree that gives them, and I just dry the petals. We brought with us peonies from our old place, and then this past fall I planted all of these beautiful guys. As hubby says, I cannot be a good Dutch girl without tulips. So we now have tulips. And look how beautiful they are. They really are quite pretty. The purples and the pinks. I think I even still have some blacks in here. And then of course you would have seen the peachy ones in the front. In these beds is where a lot of my herbs are. And like I said, most of these guys are going to be moving over to the spiral. But I have some oregano that's come back. And the sage is looking really good. We have some hostas in here that we brought with us from our old place. Hi, AC. And some hostas in here from our old place. And then in here, I had summer savory and thyme. And to be honest with you, I don't know which one this is, but this bed has been taken over by whatever one that is. And this is always a chamomile bed. We dry lots of it and we make it into tea. Over here in our front bed, there you can see some of the things close. Some lavenders, and I do have some tulips coming up there. Sedum, Rose of Sharon's, some pretty little spots of color, lamb's ears, some bee balm. Lots of things in here. All right, so that's kind of the tour around the house and the gardens. Now let's take you over and you can have a peek at all the goats. It's so nice to see things greening up. Can you see all the green behind me? Isn't that great? So nice. So everyone's just realized that I'm here. And this is your welcome committee. This is Dara here. And behind her is Alice, my old lady. And then we have Shake, who's next. And over here we have Tippy. And we have Miriam and Puss and hi Puss and Callie and Merida. Oh, Socks. And then we do, that one's Snowflake with Jack Frost and Snowfall. And that one's Mary over there. And that's Bo. And then, oh, Peep and Lil. So Lil is out, for those of you that have been following along Lil's story. Mom didn't want her. She was very, very weak. She died. I gave her CPR. She came back to life. She lived in the house. She lived in the house with us in diapers. She stole the dog bed. She's a cheeky little thing. Most of the time she's still out with her family, which is great. You can see that she's hanging out with her sisters there. So it's nice to have them go back to the flock where they belong, but still come in and hang out with us too. Oh. There we go. You would think they never get fed. I tell you though, honestly, we don't starve them. They get fed a lot. So all of the brush in here was a bunch of cedar and other trees that we cut down through the winter just to give them some greenery. We will be taking this all out and chipping it so they'll have a nice fresh pasture again. Unfortunately, some squirrels decided that eating the wires and tubes in the tractor was a great idea, so until we can get all the parts to fix the tractor, we are not able to chip this stuff. So we're going to be stuck here for a little while. Oh my goodness, what did you find?
Our barn toads returned from last year.
Our barn toad, so this little guy hung out in the barn all last year and he ate lots of flies, so he is welcome to our barn. Yeah, he bury himself kind of like in there last year.
Had the wood there.
Yeah.
Dad moved it, so I don't know where he went after. I just got
Yeah, he's come back. Oh, AC, can you please move the straw off the jewel weed? So because it snowed yesterday, I put a whole bunch of straw on the jewel weed. Here, just pop it into here. So we brought the jewel weed with us from our old farm, and I was really, really hoping that it would survive. It is very, very frost tender. So when it snowed yesterday, I came out here and grabbed some straw and frantically covered it up. But that, my friends, is all jewelweed. And I hope to cultivate this to the point that the whole front of the barn here between the two doors here can all be jewelweed. That's what we did at our old farm. We started with a few small plants. By the time we left, the entire side of the barn was all jewelweed. If you don't know what jewelweed is, it's poison ivy's natural antidote. I do make a jewelweed goat's milk soap. It's very, very good for the itching and stuff like that. Let's pop around. I'll introduce you to the horses. And because we are not doing a live tour, I'm not going to lose you. It's not going to get fuzzy. So please excuse the mud. It's that time of year. I've spent all winter and spring cleaning up the whole area back there of the poop so that the horses can have some greens. They went for a ride this morning, so apparently they're starving. Just starving. Yeah, no, they're not. So this bum here, this is Red. She's our girl. She is an off-track silky driver. And then Sully here's my friend's horse, and we keep her here and we ride her as well. Seen the horses, you've seen the farm, you've seen some of the goats. There are some goats in the barn. Tariel's in the barn with her triplets. It's just really dark in there, so even if I took you in there, you wouldn't be able to see them very well. But what we are going to do is we're going to go for a walk down to the river or creek. Sorry, I keep getting corrected that it's not a river, it's a creek. But let's go for a walk, and we'll bring Sky down with us too. This is our path to the river. So down here you'll see that it is a little bit open up and there are brush piles. Again, this was on the list to chip, but with the tractor out of commission, we haven't been able to do it. This is where we got most of the trees for our garden beds and where I will be getting more trees for the pergola. It'll open up this whole area. So in through here, I've actually planted some fiddleheads, and there are some fiddleheads up. This is the walk to the creek. Now, sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. Honestly, you never know what it's going to be. So today it's definitely high. This is her fun place to be. And we do have a little bridge that comes over our creek. It's pretty deep. It was really low the other day. As a matter of fact, most of this was all the way down. So you can see.
It's high again.
It's very high again. The other day, weren't you guys in here swimming? But it wasn't this deep, was it? All right, let's continue through. I'll take you to our found apple orchard. For those of you that don't know the story, we moved the property, we were exploring through the woods, and I found a tree, and I was like, that bark looks like an awful lot like an apple tree. So we hunted around, and we found a couple old rotten apples, and then we discovered an entire apple orchard. Now, from what we can tell from the trunks of this apple orchard, it's probably, it's well over 100 years. The original owners of this property, he's in his 70s. He says he doesn't remember there being an apple orchard here, and it was owned by his father and his grandfather, and he doesn't remember there being an apple orchard here. But there most definitely is. There are 4 rows of trees. They are in a line, and they have been fenced off from the pasture. So at some point, someone took the time and fenced this apple orchard off. It's been forgotten. It's very hard to find all the trees in it, and we've slowly been working away at cleaning it up and getting the trees trimmed up. So we popped down around our field, and this part here is all fenced in. Now, there is an apple tree right back in there. You can't see it because we haven't cleared that area yet. That's row number 1. There's an apple tree right here. This one. That's row number 2. There's an apple tree right there, and it's kind of between row 2 and 3. So I don't know if it's whether one of them is in the wrong spot or if it's just regrowing or whatever, but anyway, you can see the old fencing here. And then there's another apple tree right here, and that is, so there's one there and one there, so that's row 3. And then this is what we've been working on. You would not believe that it looked like this when we first moved in. And then there's the next row, which is row 4. So this was all crowded, just like all of this. We've been slowly working away on cleaning this up and making it so that the apple trees are gonna do well. And in this area right here is where the bees are gonna go. We have to clean this whole section here, but this is going to be our bee yard in with this these apple trees.
And have lots of flowers from there.
Yeah. So that's an old apple tree. That's an old apple tree. There's a number of them back there. This one, as you can see, this one we've trimmed up. So this one we worked on 2 winters ago. This winter we had a few other things, so we didn't do it, and same with this one. You can see our chip piles here. We'll be getting these chip piles and we'll be taking them back to the farm and putting them in the soupy wet places. This big old girl here. And then this girl here, I haven't really got in to work away at. And then there's many more of them back through there. We just have not been able to get back in there and get them cleaned up. As you can see, we're dealing with a lot of buckthorn. We're dealing with a lot of cedar. We're dealing with a lot of prickly ash. That said, I can't wait to see what all these trees are going to be like. If this orchard has been in here as many years as we think it has, it's going to have some original varieties. And that's pretty exciting stuff for me. I love finding old stuff like that. This was someone's homestead at some point. It's right next to the creek. So these majestic old girls. I'll try to see if I can find the video of when I originally started working on these and what they look like before we started working on them, just so you can see the huge difference, because honestly, it's like, this is open. This looks like it could be an orchard, but when we first found them, this is what it looked like. So big difference. And again, this is just time, and it's just something that takes us time, and we're not gonna do it all overnight, but it is in the works. I can't wait to find out what other apple trees we're gonna find in here. I really pushed to get the apple orchard in the front done because I feel it's really, really important to have food like that. And then to find that we have all of this and we didn't even know about it, it's just amazing. So this is one of the old apple trees, crab apple trees that we found in our walk. And I've had a few people ask me, how can you tell it's an apple tree in the dead of winter? Well, I grew up on a homestead that there was old apple trees, and their shape is very different than the standard tree, as well as their bark. Now, as you can see, it needs a lot of trimming. And they're all like this. There's about 5 or 6 of them that I can find. There's another one. So this raggedy old apple tree is one of the ones that we found on the property. I'm going to do some trimming today. Obviously, with a tree this size that's this old, it will take more than a year for me to get this going, given that you don't want to cut more than 1/3 of the tree back because you don't want to kill it. So it'll be a slow process. I figure if I can pick one side of the tree each year for the next 3 or 4 years, I'll have each tree under control. Be curious to see what it produces. What a mangled mess. This is the tree that I was working on the other day. So as you can see, there's been a lot of undergrowth cut. I don't know if you remember the video before where it was really overgrown. I haven't taken much off the top canopy. 1, because I didn't have a ladder, but 2, because again, only 1/3 of the tree can be taken in the first year, and so on and so forth through the years. So I concentrated on the bottom branches this year. What we're hoping is that they'll send off new shoots, and then I'll be able to cut back some of the really, really old stuff. Like that shoot right there is relatively new. So that's why I cut the end of that tree part there off. And hopefully, eventually, the whole tree will be replaced with newer shoots, and that will give us fruit. Well, I decided to come back and see how the apple trees are doing. I had found a couple blossoms the last time we came back here. And these are all the apple trees that I trimmed up. I think we are going to have lots of apples. Oh my goodness, it looks so happy. Listen, bees buzzing. Apparently this is a happy place to be. And that's another one I was working on, and the other one I was working on. Oh, this is lovely. All 4 of the trees that I worked on are just covered in blooms and busy bees everywhere. I hope you've enjoyed our farm tour. I promise there'll be lots more changes as all the garden stuff comes up, and as we are able to rotate the animals around the fields and stuff. There'll be lots to see, and I hope you can come along for the changes. Thanks for hanging out with us today. See you next time.